The ideas expressed in the following presentations are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of ACI or its committees. ACI web sessions are recorded at ACI conventions or other concrete industry events and will be made available for viewing free of charge for 1 week. Thereafter, they will be archived on the ACI website or added to ACI's online CEU program, depending on their content.
Thank you and good morning. If you see the title in the book, and this is slightly changed because I used word seed in place of initiating. What we need in India to do this seeding, and that's why this is what it is. Presentation will be in 5 parts. I tried to just make it in 5 parts. Just to give you what is the size of repair industry in India, why this repair industry is so big, the reasons, current practices and failures as experienced, and remedy is by increasing awareness and defining responsibilities and how to implement the same. India, just to give a number, is 428 billion construction industry today and slated to be in 2020 563 billions, and this exponential growth has happened in last 4 to 5 decades. And when this has happened in last 4 to 5 decades, that means we have so much of old structures in last 3 decades which need our attention. If you just look at what is the number of repair industry, what is the cost, what is the value of repair industry, this industry is unorganized industry, and that's why I had to very knowledgeably sort of interpolate and extrapolate the numbers, and there are more or less real numbers, and it comes out something to 40 to 45 billion US dollars per annum. If this is the size of this unorganized industry, then we need to look at why has this deterioration happened and what is the Indian repair industry seeing. India is the second largest manufacturer of cement in the world, to the tune of something like 375 million tons per annum. And India has transitioned from 15 MPa to 60 MPa in last 40 years. That means 10 years ago, what was the stock that was probably of lesser grade of concrete, and this inventory of low grade has come as a legacy which needs to be repaired and corrected. In addition to that, of course, low cover and other earlier wrong concrete practices, chloride attack, etc. have worsened the scene. All of you know, India is a hot weather country and has a long coastline of 7,000 kilometers with tropical rains. High temperature, humidity, high chloride attack, high pollution, all are the game players over there. 35,000 kilometers square coastal area is under constant attack of airborne chlorides. And in addition to that, rapid urbanization, industrialization is increasing carbonation attack overall. This is the corrosion map of India. You can see various zones are from extremely severe to severe and moderate. And this is the coastline, high humidity, oceans from all the sides, high temperature, chlorides, high carbonation level, and this is the reason why the industry, this is also one of the reasons why industry is so big. What are the general concepts of repair in India today? They are no different from anywhere else, principally, like removing deteriorated loose concrete, exposed corroded reinforcement, then some semblance of cleaning and removal of corrosion products from corroded steel, rust removers, bonding agents, polymer mortars, protective coatings, same thing. However, with this exponential growth of repair industry, unsatisfactory performances in last 4 decades, 5 decades bring out what we need to look at. We need to look at in the improvements in materials, design practices, installation procedures, contracting processes, QA, QC procedures, and most of all, education and allied several aspects. Common man is often getting alarmed with distress signals. Signals can be cracking, signals can be delamination, signals can be failure, and signals can be collapse. And when this happens in the whole neighborhood, in the whole state, in the whole district, the chain reaction starts and the repair industry again starts booming. This is one of the cases. And this is in downtown area. And this can happen in downtown area. All the structures nearby or around or in the nearby districts also, they awaken all of a sudden, and whether they needed the repairs or not, the whole process began. I told you that most of the concrete inventory is more than 10 years plus old, and the concrete was site mix those days without much control. And obviously they become more vulnerable to carbonation, chloride and alkalinity attack, loss of alkalinity attack. New concrete today we are doing something like 2 billion m³ per annum. Of course this needs to be protected, this will be protected. However, whatever has been placed in the past is something to the tune of 55 to 60 billion m³, and that needs to be protected more, and that's where this thriving repair industry is coming from. The short life cycle of repairs raises questions on the knowledge and awareness of the technical competencies of related personnel and agencies. Personnel can be consultants, can be engineers, can be contractors, can be client. And rebuilding the older structure is not the general norm, and that's why structures are to be majorly repaired, and as you will see ahead, unfortunately re-repaired. In colleges, in schools, engineers or students, they are not taught concrete as a science and steel corrosion, and that's why that also needs looking into. And as a result, many areas remain grey areas, and hands-on training as well as learning state-of-the-art procedures is important. And more sadly, material science, which is really an inseparable part of a new age civil engineering, not taught or not learned anywhere, and that's why materials like polymers, epoxies, protective coatings, nanomaterials, I mean, they need more information for everybody. Again, if this is the case so far, as far as the awareness is concerned, responsibilities of concerned people like designers, contractors and government agencies automatically come into the picture. What is the performance of repairs in India? For that, I have taken some reference. US Army Corps of Engineers, they have just published data on their repairs, and this is the position, this is the situation of repair performance in an advanced country. If you just extrapolate, then that 50% would probably go to 20% or thereabout in India, and rest will be as this is. What is happening? Damage versus time versus cost. The structure, when it gets corroded, damaged, it loses its, and then at the first time the intervention is required, the first repair happens, damage comes little down on the y-axis, then another repair happens because of lack of understanding while doing repairs, and then the cost mounts, the second, then third, and then the fourth. Like that, the cost goes on increasing, and that is exactly why exactly why we need to look into the concepts of responsibility as well as awareness concurrently together. Cost 1, cost 2, cost 3, cost 4 and like that. Okay. Various steps involved in repairs depend on the personal knowledge. I'm talking about India SIM and also the fancy of the specifier. More often the specs are copied from one specifier or one job to other without considering that every damage, every repair is a different case study. As a result, the repairs intended to extend the service life, the structures after repair fail prematurely, and that's where defining responsibility criterion comes in the picture. All this is realized, but it is realized too late when the failure and the loss is irreversible. Just to inform you, I mean, there are some quacks also practicing which they will say that we will not charge you anything or we will take nominal fees. How do they sustain and how do they just run their offices and homes, I don't know. But then why does this happen? Because this happens because the industry and the country and the requirement is so big that somebody or the other, one victim or the other gullible person is always there to just to fall prey for this type of practices. Hence, strategy, I'm trying to present a strategy to increase the accountability of stakeholders and also just make them collectively responsible. Before that, there are several operations needed in repair jobs. All of us know: membranes, surface preparation, grouting, crack injection, foundation underpinning, vertical repairs, graniting, shotcrete, underwater repairs, waterproofing, general concrete repairs, concrete placement, formwork, steel placement, post tensioning, cathodic protection, industrial floor repair. All these are specialized jobs, and when they are all specialized jobs, responsibilities come into picture. Another thing is, individual repair jobs are smaller in value as compared to new construction, as was mentioned earlier. It becomes difficult for government authorities to just give completion certificate and inspect every small thing that is happening throughout the country. And hence, the responsibility comes on the consulting practicing engineers, and they have to be specially trained and certified for repair technology and practices and whatever I just talked about earlier about awareness is becomes underlined. So, if this unified procedure of qualified civil engineers is not there, then civil engineer, the consulting engineer, has to wear several caps. He has to wear the cap of an NDT expert, he has to wear the cap of material specialist, he has to wear the cap of corrosion expert, but he is only trained for civil engineering. And then the story becomes like elephant and six blinds. One person doing all these roles, and whichever part of the elephant or the repair comes in his hands, the repair will be treated in that direction. And hence the performance as shown earlier like this. Being smaller in value, we cannot have multi-level supervision. That is difficult and uneconomical, and that's why the consulting engineer and the contractor have to be more trained, more aware, more knowledgeable, but oftentimes the entire 365 degrees idea about analytical, diagnostic and QC parameter for the contract, both on prescriptive as well as performance format, are not known to any one of them or most of them. And the more this is so because it's not a new construction, it has a multifaceted complexity along with ignorance. So remediation can be, in my opinion, done only by two ways: increasing awareness and defining responsibilities. Stakeholders. These are the stakeholders: engineers, architects, contractors, equipment suppliers, material manufacturers, testing companies, educators, researchers, lawyers, and they are benefited. But when they are benefited, it always associated with the responsibility. And the state-of-the-art knowledge and responsibilities are brought together some way or the other. I am trying to give vision statement afterwards. Then only mere fixing responsibility is not enough. It has to be also connected with enlightenment, that is state-of-the-art knowledge. And if that is the case, then in time to come, we may hopefully try to look at this picture. Then the methodology, equipments, procedures also are old, they are not updated, and that also has to be brought to the state-of-the-art approach, and that has to be done immediately. And immediately means when? Immediately means yesterday, now. This is the requirement of the industry back in India. So now is the time to embark upon systematic approach so that proper guidelines can be formed and how it has to be implemented. Specialty engineers, the definition has been given in this 132 document. I had written number wrongly over there. Again, when this has to happen, we have to take all these parameters into consideration. Then we come to the action plan. Action plan is to form a devoted group having representatives of contractors, engineers, material manufacturers, researchers, educators, owners, material scientists, and industry associations. And along with this group, if a nodal federal agency is also present in the system, then it gets some sort of a credibility and authority and completion to the recommendations of this group. This should be a faster and far-reaching approach than leaving it to the industry alone. It must be made a time-bound initiative in the interest of the stakeholders, and the draft and the code will be peer-reviewed and then sent for wider circulation throughout the industry for suggestions. And this group also will give a vision. And why do we need vision? Because repair is a dynamic industry. Every day the new facet of repair is getting open to us, and then we should be in position to face that. We should be in position to sort of sort it out, and that's why we need to have vision. And that's why the title, the need to seed. The seeding is happening for the first time, and that's why need to seed. I have tried to further subdivide the vision statement. And why? Because along with the qualitative improvements and the responsibility concept, if you bring it together, repair mistakes, miscalculations, poor performance, poor workmanship, all will be reduced, and we can find out the better repair methodologies. This vision, along with the goals, will help industry, client, research institutes, federal department like road, railways, and all the other stakeholders. Small points, but important points. Why I have made the detailed small point? Because I am requested to submit this to BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard. So I am just showing it over here, and then with your feedback, I may probably take it to them in an improvised form. So repairs industry must be made a fully organized sector by forming a federation or trade association. Indian repair industry should have outreach beyond civil engineering to establish mechanism for inter-organizational and interdisciplinary cooperation. Then a national concrete repair institute should be formed on a national level. This will facilitate technology transfer. Then we have develop and implement methodology to hasten document creation. Then create a repair rehabilitation code, which is not there yet, to enhance evaluation, design, materials and field and inspection practices, establish clear responsibilities and authorities for all participants, concurrently develop performance-based guide specifications for specific and generic repairs. This will instill confidence in client, which is very important, and improve repair material design to eliminate cracking, carry structure, low, define, develop, and most importantly, develop environmental and worker-friendly repair methods, equipments, and materials that will greatly reduce the adverse effect on workers and the public and the Earth's ecosystem. Develop a means of predicting repair system performance, and develop and implement a strategic research plan for the repair industry with the help of university, industry, and government as partners, and upskilling. Generally, what is happening, the trained workers are not available and semi-trained workers are doing the job. So upskilling of engineers is required, as well as the workforce also is required, and India government has made a special effort in this. They have made a special ministry for upskilling, so that has to be taken into consideration. Then develop selection processes, contractual agreements, procedural methods, relationship agreements that will greatly reduce conflicts, rework claims and lawsuits. We can take the support of these documents. I talked about this. The strategy will keep evolving. As I said, it is a dynamic field, beginning or making this incredibly large business, $45 billion business, in most structured and responsible. And if this happens, this Vision 2025, which I am trying to give here for Indian repair industry, if it is today 2016 like this, hopefully we will be able to get to this stage. All the observations are based on my personal experience of the last 35 years, and my colleagues back in India or here can add to that, and I am very welcome. I am open for any suggestions. Anyways, thank you.